We speak a little bit more about this to Sanele Mbili, a farmer and an agribusiness consultant. A very good evening to Mr. Mbili, and thank you so much for speaking to us.
Good evening. Thank you for having me.
What has been the impact so far for both farmers and consumers of these current rains?
Yeah, I think the farmers are very sort of happy because I think throughout the year we've been getting reports saying that the droughts are coming this summer, from September, there won't be enough rain and so on. But fortunately, it didn't happen like that, Since September, we've been receiving some rains, especially here in the eastern coast of the country. So we've been receiving quite good rains, which really makes the farmers very happy, especially because we've been getting these reports saying droughts are coming, especially from this year during spring and summer, but we're still receiving some rains, which is really good for us as farmers.
As we mentioned earlier on, weather experts reporting the observation of El Niño conditions. But do farmers in general have an understanding of the scientific ramifications of this? How does it actually work? Yeah,
so basically when you talk of El Niño, it means for us as farmers, it means that dryness, it means that the crops won't grow as nice as we want them to grow because there is no water, So I will still say the farmers still need more education in terms of understanding that, and also understanding the practices that they can actually do in trying to conserve moisture, because this is the most important thing when you enter a El Niño stage, in saying what are the practices I'm doing on farm to make sure that I keep the moisture for a very long time in my topsoil especially. So that my crops can be able to enjoy that for a long time up until I harvest. So they still need more education on that, in terms of that. But yes, I can say they were worried. Most of them that I interacted with this day, they were worried that the droughts are coming and that they will be harvesting less than usual. But yeah, so since the rainfall hasn't stopped, and I've seen reports saying that this rainfall or drought maybe will start towards the end of February next year, of which those summer crops that we've been planting later this year, it means that by that time they would have grown already, they would have emerged, so they will be able to continue growing. Because you will say if maybe the rains will stop around towards the end of Feb, that will mean the soils will still remain moisture for maybe probably about another month or so, which means that the crop will be able to grow and be able to produce those crops.
But under such circumstances where there is drought, how do you insulate yourself from those conditions, especially during the planting season?
Yeah, this is very important for the farmers. I think the most important thing will be to do your mulch. In other words, try and cover your soils. Don't leave your soils bare because they will dry quickly. So in the macadamia industry, we'll always talk about when they're doing their pruning, they will take all those leftovers, they will trash them, then they will create a nice bed, on top of the soil, just to cover the soil so it doesn't get dry quickly. Even in the sugar industry as well, they talk of the trash blankets, so they use that as well in order to cover the soil and make sure that it doesn't get dry quickly. So mulching is the most important thing that they can use in making sure that they keep the soil moist for a very long time. So I think they will have to start doing that as soon as possible in preparing for end of February
and
for the drought.
The concern around food security has been sounded for quite a while now, and I'm curious what the talk is, particularly around farmers, climate conditions and food security. Yeah,
the climatic conditions is really a big issue. I think at the beginning, people didn't really, take it seriously, but now we can actually see it at a farm level, especially when it comes to, because we normally predict or know that at what month will you expect a certain tree to flower, so that you can do any practices around flowering. But now flowering is all over, you can expect it in and beginning of September. I can expect it's end of September and October, you know. So it's causing a lot of challenges because we had like proper programming that has been running for years, but now we're seeing this program is not working for us anymore, you know, and we don't really know what program that can work for us because we don't really know what the weather will be like next year, you know. So we're at that stage where the farmers are like a bit confused and saying, how do we now adapt to this climatic change? Because you'll expect maybe droughts, but there's no droughts. There's still some rainfall. Then we expect more rainfall or floods, but again, there's less rainfall. So it's a bit of a confusing times, especially for us farmers here in South Africa, because we're not really that fast or that sort of mature in terms of understanding the climatic change or putting more efforts in understanding climatic change and also how to deal with it. So it's a very confusing stage for farmers currently in terms of saying, how do we now program our production practices so that they can be aligned exactly to this climatic change? Because it's changing, but we don't know how is this changing, or is changing to where? You know, I think that's the biggest challenge. But the farmers, it's good that the farmers and the institutions in the agricultural sector had started, you know, discussing this and meeting more often in discussing anything that they can do in making sure that the farmers are aware. Because, you know, us as farmers, there's a lot of chemicals or products that we use. Sometimes most of them are not really the products that are conducive for the environment, you know. So it's things like, because there's a legislation called the Conservation for Agricultural Resources Act. So those are the things that we need to push into the farmers so that they can know them, they can understand them, and push them and start saying, let us use less of toxic chemicals and herbicides on our farms and start using biological products, you know. I think that's the most important thing, a fundamental thing that the farmers should start doing or start looking into saying, let us use more of natural products in, you know, taking care of the pests, you know, and also increasing the nutrition on those plants. So I think this is where we need to pay more attention on. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for your time, farmer and agribusiness consultant Sanele Mbili, just speaking to us about the sector and the current rains and the climatic conditions, how they're contending with all of that.